Okay, so example 2 for our quantity value tables is an investment problem that we use a quantity value table to collect and organize our information so that we can find out the answer to the problem. So Maria has $15,000 to invest for 1 year. Investment A pays 5% interest for the year, and investment B pays 8% interest. Maria invests 1/3 of the money at 5% and the remaining 2/3 of the money at 8%. Find how much she earns and find the average rate of return or the average interest percentage. So first, let's set up our table. We have our first column is our items, our second is the quantity, the third is the value, and the last is our Q times V. So we have investment A is our first item. So we can just write that as A in our item column. And investment B is our second, so we can label that B. And of course, the last box in this column is our total, telling us that each box in this last row is going to be the total for that column. So now, the easiest thing to go about filling in first is our value, right? Because we clearly are told in the first sentence that the value of A is 5% interest. So we want to write that in decimal, which 5% would be 0.05. And then investment B is worth 8% interest, which in decimal is 0.08. Okay? Now, it asks us to find the average rate of return. So the average rate of return is what is going to go in this last box. We don't know it yet. It's one of the things we have to calculate. So the next thing we can fill in here is our quantity. Now, Maria has $15,000 to invest. So that's the total amount of money that she has to put into these two investments. So that information goes into the total box for the quantity. And they tell us that 1/3 of the money is at 5%. So 1/3 of 15,000 is going to be invested in investment A. And the remaining 2/3 of the money, so 2/3 of the 15,000 goes into the 8% or investment B. So now we can multiply across to find out what our QV column is for the investment A and for investment B. So 1/3 of 15,000 is 5,000, and 5,000 times the 5% is $250. 2/3 of 15,000 is 10,000 times the 8% is going to be $800. So now we add this up, our 250 plus our 800, to get the total amount she earns. So with this, with 1/3 of the $15,000 in investment A and 2/3 in investment B, she is going to get $1,050 after 1 year is up. Okay, so now we've found how much she earns. We need to know our average rate. So the average rate is going to be the total Q times V divided by the total quantity. So that's going to be our 1,050 divided by our 15,000. And that equals 0.07 or 7%. So because she split her money into two different investments, Maria gets 7% interest earned back on her $15,000.